Hey guys, Sarah here from the Glitter Guy. Today I have Katy Pryce with me and we're going to show you how to make a Northern Lights cup.
So supplies that you're going to need, this is a 24 ounce plump from the Steel Magnolia, and I sprayed it with matte black spray paint. I've got Pinkle, Thunderstruck, Ectoplasm, Dilly Dilly, Let It Go, Tangled, and some Twinkle from the Glitter Guy.
We got our tree line ready. We got our stir sticks. We got our epoxy, our torch.
Okay, so I'm going to make some epoxy first. I've got Counterculture DIY.
When Katy mixes her epoxy in the same cup, she does the thicker part first, part A, and then part B over top of it, and it doesn't sink right into it. So she's able to equally measure each part.
And the reason you want to do a small amount of epoxy for the epoxy method is because you don't want your cup to be wet. You just want your cup to be tacky so that the glitter adheres to it. It's like your adhesive, not an epoxy coat. So I set my epoxy to the side to get the bubbles out for a minute, and I'm going to apply my tree line. I'm going to cut it in half just so that I can apply it easier to the cup.
This is it's a little over 9.5 inches long and 2.8 inches tall.
And depending on what size cup you do, you're going to want to change the sizing on it. And you can place it anywhere you want. If you want to move it up some on your cup, if you want it to be wider, you can change that in your silhouette studio.
So, Katy, the fact that our cup's not covered down here, that's fine, right?
Yes, because if for some reason you were to bring the epoxy all the way down here, you could just wipe it away with a baby wipe and it would be fine. All right. It's a lot harder to do with gloves on.
You make it look very easy.
And you also don't need to worry too much about it being on here even or flat because you are going to be removing it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be on the cup. So there we go. There's our tree line. You just want to make sure that the vinyl is laying flat right up here so that the epoxy doesn't creep into any of the crevices.
Does it matter what vinyl you use?
I prefer to use a removable vinyl because this is just spray paint. This does not have any epoxy on it, so there is a chance that this will pull the paint off. That's also why it's important to wait at least 24 hours before you do this, because the spray paint needs time to dry. All right, so now that we've got the vinyl tree line on, we're going to apply the epoxy, and you're just going to put like the smallest amount on your finger and get your cup sticky.
And why do you use epoxy and not Mod Podge?
After we put the glitter on, we're going to, I guess it's called burnishing the glitter into each other. We're gonna rub it all into each other, oh, cool. And it gives a really cool blending effect so that you don't have all those harsh lines. So now we've got all the epoxy on the cup, and you can see that I barely used any of that 5 milliliters. I am going to take a paper, that's what I like to lay underneath but when I glitter, and we're just going to toss it on. There's really no wrong way to do it. All right, so I just like to go in kind of almost like a swirl. I like to put mostly ectoplasm. And I know you're probably looking at it thinking, oh, how is that going to be pretty? But I promise you it will be. When
it's looking fun.
Because none of these lines are going to be there. So just make sure that you've got everything covered. All right, so now that you've got all of your glitter on, you're just gonna take a gloved hand and you're just going to rub it in. And it's fine if they all mix into each other. You really want that. You want them to kind of blend together. And it is okay if you see some areas that are missing glitter, because when we go to epoxy this cup, we're gonna put Twinkle along the whole thing, and so that will fill in the gaps that come off and you won't even know that there was never glitter there.
What is the longest amount of time I can wait until I do this after I epoxy? Because we didn't wait very long this time. We didn't wait at all.
No, you don't want to wait at all.
What if I have a screaming baby in the other room?
Yeah, I mean, you can wait a little bit, but you don't want the epoxy to be too...
you want it to be as soft as possible.
Yeah. But this is why it's important to make sure that you don't have too much epoxy on there. Because if you do, then it's not going to... It's just going to clump and make a huge mess.
Run around.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so your final step is just going to be removing that tree line.
Cool.
And then you're done. Do you have any questions?
How long would I wait to epoxy this?
So you're going to want to give it at least 4 hours so that epoxy is not wet anymore or sticky. And then you want to seal your glitter. I do at least 2 coats of triple thick, but you can use any other gloss sealer.
Any spray sealer?
Yeah, any spray sealer.
You don't suggest?
I would not suggest Mod Podge. You don't want to dull it. And then once it's sealed then and dry, then you can epoxy it. And that's when you're going to epoxy it with the Twinkle. And you're going to put just a dash of the Twinkle, very tiny bit in your epoxy, and put it on that coat. And then your black tree line will sparkle as well. Okay, so all that's left to do is our final step, which is to remove that tree line so we can see how pretty it looks. And I have had the best luck removing from the bottom first and then pulling up, because these little tiny pieces on the tree line tend to rip. So, and it's okay if you get epoxy on this part while you're doing this, because you can just go right in with a baby wipe or whatever and wipe it away and it'll look fine. Because you don't really want any dried epoxy down there.
Awesome, so I feel very confident now, thanks to Katie, that I can make a Northern Light cup. Again, we used Tangled, Let It Go, Dilly Dilly, Thunderstruck, Ectoplasm, and Pinkle. These are all available right now at theglitterguy.com. When we epoxy this, we're going to throw just a little bit of Twinkle in it, and our Northern Lights cup will be done. If you aren't already, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and make sure that you join our Facebook group, The Glitter Guy, so you can be up to date on anything that's coming out.